Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. And before we get started on today's video, I thought it was just worth mentioning, because I completely forgot to mention it in Monday's Mingles with Jingles, that we'll be in Frankfurt in Germany this weekend at EpicCon. It's the first EpicCon. It's a celebration of all things anime and basically Japanese. And Rita and I have both been invited along as guests of the convention, so we'll be there Friday, Saturday, and then we're returning home on Sunday. So if you happen to be in the vicinity of Frankfurt and you feel like popping along to EpicCon, then link down below in the video description to the convention website, and if you do spot us in the crowd, don't be shy, come up, say hello. Right, anyway, on with today's battle. This is GRZ349. How do you pronounce that? I know how you pronounce that. You pronounce it Dave. Yes, it's Dave again, star of yesterday's video, star of today's video too. He's in the American Tier 6 destroyer, the USS Farragut, but he's platooned up, or since this is World of Warships, divisioned up, with somebody in a Tier 7 American destroyer, the Mayhem. Now, doubtless, many of you are sitting there going, oh great, failed division. And technically, yes, you're absolutely correct, but, well, it doesn't really matter that much in destroyers. The health difference between a Tier 5 and a Tier 10 destroyer is negligible. And you can't shoot at what you can't see. Well, you can launch torpedoes at what you can't see. You can have great success firing torpedoes into smoke screens and flushing out the destroyers inside them, but it's substantially more difficult to hit a fast-moving tiny destroyer than it is, for example, a Tier 5 battleship in a Tier 7 game. So, yeah, it's a failed division, but in destroyers it's not really that important. The matchmaking in this particular battle is a kind of good news, bad news situation for the battleships on each team. The good news? No carrier. Hooray! The bad news? Man, that's a lot of destroyers. Although, more destroyers on the enemy team than on Dave's team. Dave's team only has 3, the enemy team have 4, and we're about to see 3 of them. First, the Farragut has just popped up, and Dave has been spotted. Farragut closely followed by the Mitsuki, who's putting shots out, and they're falling short. Enemy destroyers are popping smoke, and just at the last second there, the enemy Hatsuharu also popped up. No sign of the enemy Sims yet, but that's quite enough destroyers for us to be dealing with right now, thank you very much. His division mate in the Mayhan starts popping smoke, and that's going to come in very, very handy for that Furitaka, providing he can avoid the wall of skill. I think that's all of the torpedoes which have been launched by the Hatsuharu, the Farragut and the Mitsuki, hidden in the smokescreen over there, and the Furitaka does manage to avoid, I think, all but one of them, and then manages to retreat inside the smokescreen laid by the Mayhan. Meanwhile, in the confusion, you may not have noticed that the enemy Sims has been spotted all the way over the other side of the map, and he has just torpedoed and killed the friendly Hatsuharu. Hang your head in shame, Hatsuharu, getting torpedoed by a Sims. Shocking. I should point out, by the way, that this is a battle from prior to the latest patch in World of Warships, and so the Hatsuharus are both Tier 7 and the Mitsuki is still Tier 6. Now it's at this point, with the far western end of the map firmly locked down by multiple enemy destroyers, battleships and cruisers, that Dave and his buddy in the Mayhan Primorius decide to try their luck with the centre channel, the infamous centre channel here on Two Brothers. It's normally a ship graveyard if you try to push it at the start of the match, because you emerge from the channel at the other end, the enemy team still haven't had time to get clear of their deployment zone, and you just get yourself caught into a crossfire and annihilated. But now a couple of minutes have elapsed, and so they're going to have a go, but it turns out they're not the only ones. The Sims had the same idea. Now if he turns to port, he'll run aground, but he'll be safe from the torpedoes. If he turns to starboard to try to get his torpedoes away, he's going to die, because the Farragut was ahead of him and was always going to get the torpedoes away first. You can turn to port like that, but you need to be using your guns. You're going to die anyway, because he should have turned to starboard and beached himself and avoided the torpedoes. But, well, he would have at least done some damage before his inevitable death. So, that's the Tier 7 premium Sims taken out, a useful kill. And there's the Sims smokescreen in the centre of the channel. Is there anything lurking in that smokescreen? Because it's entirely possible that any of those 3 remaining enemy destroyers that they ran into over on the western flank could have done exactly what they've done, doubled back and have been making their way down this centre channel behind the Sims, but the smoke screen's just dissipated and it does look like there's nothing there. Couple that with the fact that there are no carriers in this match, so there's nobody to send aircraft to scout this centre channel. And these two guys now have an excellent chance of making it down this channel undetected. This could of course still be a very risky move, it just depends how much attention any of the enemy cruisers have been paying, or in fact the enemy destroyers, because if anybody was paying attention to the map and saw what happened to the Sims, they could jump to the conclusion that there may be some destroyers coming down this channel. And there's not a lot of space to manoeuvre to avoid torpedoes in this channel, and so if any of the torpedo armed cruisers or any of the 3 remaining enemy destroyers are heading back right now, these two guys could be in a lot of trouble. Here's the problem. You can't fire torpedoes at anybody who's covering the mouth of that channel without basically turning your ship around and beaching it and making yourself a sitting duck. And it looks like they're going to live. Hurrah! And they're capping. Once again, anybody on the enemy team paying the slightest bit of attention to the map now has to know that 1 or more destroyers have slipped down that central channel and are loitering around in the Charlie capture point, taking it from the enemy team. They couldn't have worked their way around the east, it's blocked by enemy ships. They couldn't have worked their way around the west, it's blocked by enemy ships. They have to have come down the centre channel. Enemy Farragut was momentarily spotted 12.6 kilometres away and taken some hits. Enemy Congo at 10.6 kilometres. They've almost capped. Dave takes a bit of a chance there, but does not get spotted when he shoots at the Congo, and any second now they've capped. Right, weapons free. Let's go and sink some ships. The team have been suffering a little bit due to the lack of destroyers spotting for them on the eastern and western flanks, so Dave and Promorius here in the Mayhan really need to start pulling their weight. Well, I say that, they've sunk a Sims, that's a tier 7 destroyer, and they've managed to pull back a second capture point for the team. The team are still behind on points because they've lost more ships, but now they hold 2 of the 4 flags. The enemy team only hold 1. Delta is still being contested. 3 enemy ships up ahead. Bayern at the front there, very, very low on health. The Congo still has most of his health. Also, an enemy New York over there at tier 5 who just took a series of big hits, and now he's on low health as well. So that's 1 tier 6 and 2 tier 5 enemy battleships that are basically being fought to a standstill by a pair of friendly tier 5 Koenigs. Meanwhile, on the other flank, it's not looking quite so good. That's basically where the team have suffered most of their losses, and all they really have left over there is 1 tier 6 Fuso, who's being forced to fall back and pursued by superior numbers of enemy ships, and doing the best that he can to slow them down and stay alive. Dave's buddy in the Mayhan activates his anti-aircraft guns, takes out the spotter aircraft that did have them lit up. Debatable whether or not those 3 enemy battleships have been paying attention to the fact that there are 2 destroyers sneaking up on them, but the 2 friendly Koenigs have been joined by another Koenig on almost full health and a Nürnberg. They've taken out the New York, they've taken out the Bayern. The ARP Congo is now completely out of friends and fallen back as fast as he possibly can. Is he aware that there are 2 destroyers sneaking up on him from this side? I guess we're going to find out. Now, pay attention to how Dave in the Farragut takes advantage of the torpedo attack made on the Congo by his buddy in the Mayhan. The Mayhan, which has a surface detection range of 7.9 kilometers, launches his torpedoes at exactly 7.9 kilometers from the Congo. The Congo is paying attention. He has spotted the Mayhan. The Farragut will be spotted from a range of 7.6 kilometers. He has now also been spotted, and with the Congo pulling a hard turn, Dave holds fire on his torpedoes, maneuvers to avoid running around on the rocks, and starts firing with his guns. The Congo's avoided the first 2 spreads of torpedoes launched by the Mayhan, but the Mayhan has a 3rd torpedo launcher, and so he's adjusted his aim and he's put them in the water against the Congo as well. Dave continues to light him up with his guns, perfectly safe. The Congo's main battery guns are pointing elsewhere, and his secondaries aren't really that dangerous. But even though the Mayhan's torpedoes have all missed, they've forced the Congo to turn broadside on to not only all of those battleships on the other side of the map, but also Dave in the Farragut. He's kind of caught between a rock and a hard place here. He can avoid the torpedoes fired by the Mayhan, but that's making him a sitting duck for both Dave and all of the battleships he was trying to run away from. So Dave's just nailed himself a Congo. And now the team's in a position to capture Delta. So they still hold Charlie. For some reason, none of those 2 surviving enemy destroyers bothered to come back and do anything about it. However, somebody is capping Bravo. And that Fuso, begging for help, by some miracle, still alive. He's done a great job so far of slowing down the enemy push around the western end of the map, but he's living on borrowed time. Somebody's capping Bravo. We can't see what it is, so it's likely to be one or more of those 2 surviving enemy destroyers. And the enemy team have just captured Bravo. Now Dave's team is still ahead on points because they've got more kills and they've held more capture points for longer than the enemy, and they're about to equalise the number of capture points by capturing Delta. However, the difference in points between the 2 teams is not that great. All it takes is for somebody on the enemy team to come back and start capping Charlie, and they've had plenty of time to do that, and somebody to sink that Fuso, and this situation could turn around very, very quickly. And then sure enough, a couple of seconds later, the enemy Scharnhorst finally finishes off the Fuso, and almost immediately after that, somebody sneaks into Charlie and starts capping that too. Dave reacts immediately and starts turning to divert and investigate who's over there in Charlie. Now, he's not going there alone. There is a Nürnberg, the only surviving cruiser on the team, also heading south. But it's going to take him a while to get there. Dave is going to be first to arrive on the scene. And judging by the speed of that capture, there's more than one ship over there. And despite running his engine boost, he's not going to be able to get back in time to prevent the capture, but providing he can kill that Farragut and whatever else is in there, he should be able to recapture. The Farragut's on low health. Dave's spotted anyway. He immediately opens up, but the Farragut smokes up and starts sending return fire in his direction. He's managed to score a hit on the Farragut, but now he's spotted. There's the Mutsuki. Now the Mutsuki is sailing broadside on and isn't firing his guns. Expect there to be torpedoes in the water. He hits the Mutsuki and knocks his engine out. Unfortunately, I think it was the Mutsuki managed to return the compliment. His engine's out and he's lost a torpedo launcher. He avoids the torpedoes fired by the Mutsuki. Despite having his engine knocked out, he is able to keep moving and turning, so he obviously has last stand on his captain, but having last stand is no substitute for having a fully operational engine, so he burns his damage control ability to get his engine and his torpedo launcher back up. Fires a wide spread of torpedoes into the smokescreen. There's the Mutsuki again. There are going to be more torpedoes. There's the Farragut. Dave has now been set on fire and there's nothing he can do about it, but he has managed to set the Farragut on fire as well, firing blind into the smoke. Is the Farragut going to have torpedoes? He fires another wide spread at the Mutsuki, who is burning and has his engine knocked out. The Farragut emerges from the smokescreen with his guns blazing. Do not let him get those torpedoes away, Dave. Dave sinks him. Now the Mutsuki. There are going to be torpedoes coming, but the Mutsuki is slowing to a halt. He's a sitting duck for the torpedo spread. He takes him out. Come on, Dave, turn and slow. And he's avoided the Mutsuki's torpedoes. 4 kills. Took out the Mutsuki and the Farragut within seconds of each other. Not quite quick enough for a double strike, but pretty damn quick all the same. Dave's burning, however. He's looking at the cooldown on his damage repair ability. Come on, there we go. Dave's going to live. The Nürnberg, by the way, if you have a look at the map, is finally arrived on the scene. A little too late to help in the fight, but at least he can now help in recapturing Charlie. A couple of seconds later, the capture is complete, and at this point, Dave has a choice. There are 3 enemy ships remaining. We know exactly where all 3 of them are. At this point, Dave could farm some easy experience and credits by going to capture Alpha, completely uncontested. Or he can go for the Kraken. Now, there were 3 enemy ships spotted, but the Nürnberg's disappeared, and if you have a look at the positions of the friendly ships over to the east, the only way that Nürnberg could now not be spotted is if he's ducked into this channel as well. The friendly Nürnberg, behind Dave, lurking at the mouth of the channel, momentarily spots him and confirms that he is in fact coming down the central channel. Dave pulls a hard turn, beaches the ship, tucks in nicely behind the rock there, fires every torpedo he's got. The Nürnberg sails into view, too late to do anything but reach over, grab his ankles and kiss his ass goodbye. Yes, Dave, you have sunk an enemy cruiser. The Nürnberg never knew what hit him. With just 2 enemy ships remaining, this is pretty much a foregone conclusion. The team now have a commanding points lead. The Scharnhorst over there is not getting the support he needs from the Koenig. Oh, and he just took a big hit. The last time I saw a German take a beating like that, it was D-Day 1944. And the Scharnhorst is down, and that just leaves the Koenig. Sensing blood in the water, Dave pushes on. Now, not only can he get some shots into the Koenig and farm even more damage, but he can also assist in the capture of Bravo to farm even more credits and experience. And you'll note that the friendly Nürnberg, obviously way out of position to do anything to help against the 2 surviving enemy battleships, is doing exactly the same thing over in Alpha. That poor Koenig has no chance. In fact, Helen Keller could probably find Waldo before that Koenig could win this battle. And so right now, pretty much all everybody's doing is farming as much experience and credits as they possibly can before they reach 1,000 points, and this battle is over. Sadly, no post-battle results screens included with this replay, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway. And just before we finish off for today, I thought I'd take the opportunity to remind everybody that I'm currently running a giveaway where you can win one of 2 World of Tanks themed Arozzi Vernazza gaming chairs worth €349 each. So far there have been over 10,000 entrants and I only have 2 chairs to give away, so you can figure out your odds of actually winning. But hey, if you don't enter, you've got no chance of winning. Details of the giveaway down below in the video description. Please note, however, that due to delivery restrictions from Arozzi, these chairs are available for EU only. Hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.